Hi there, welcome back to another CookAlong Live. Hopefully you enjoyed the curried leek soup last week. This week we're going to make a delicious spaghetti bolognese. To start off, what we're going to do is we're going to prep our veg. So we've got onion, carrot, and celery to put in to the recipe. So what we're going to do is just peel the carrots. You should have one carrot. If you think your carrot is quite small, obviously use two. Spaghetti bolognese is a great way to get rid of those veg that have been lying in your kind of fridge or your cupboards or your pantries for a long time. So just put the veg. Obviously, any peelings you have, you want to put in the food waste. Help the climate. So just chuck that in to your food waste bag. Then what you're going to do is chop the tops and bottoms off the carrots, leaving you with nicely peeled carrots. All right, we are going to come back to them. I just like to get all the kind of peeling of veg done first, and then you start prepping all your veg at once. So with the onion, take the tops and tails off the onion, and then you just peel it so until the white peel is showing. That's that one peeled and prepped for chopping. And then with the celery stick, all you're doing is taking the top and your bottom off the celery. So now you've got your free veg that you've kind of peeled. Now you're going to chop it up. All are getting chopped up finely. It's really important that it is quite fine, especially if you're cooking this for kids, just because you don't want them to see, sometimes you don't want to see them, what veg is in there. So chop the onion up nice and fine. You can dice it. What I would do is I would kind of make it as small as you can. The smaller you have it, the quicker it is that it takes to cook as well. So always kind of keep that in mind if you're doing this on speed. Spaghetti bolognese is quite a nice quick one to have in. We've got beef stock as well. If you would like, and you've got red wine kicking about the house, then, or that's open already and you want to try and use that up, you can use red wine as well for the stock. So you'd have the beef stock and the red wine to make it a bit more of a rich sauce. But that is not an essential. I know some people out there can't have red wine, similar to myself. So yeah, just chop up the onion nice and thin, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put in so you need to get a pan that you can have a lid on. You're going to spray some olive oil. Then you're going to put it on a heat the oil up, and then what you're going to do is you're going to throw in the onions, the carrots, and the celery for around about like a few minutes until they're kind of soft, and then we're going to add in the garlic, and then we'll add in the meat. So it shouldn't take that long. Just that's obviously your finely chopped onion. You're going to finely chop celery. With this, because it is finely chopped and it's not like the last recipe that you're kind of blitzing it, you might want to chop it up further. So rather than it be one big stick, have it into little sticks, and then, or half it and then half it again, and then just chop. It's all about hidden veg, especially with spaghetti bolognese. You can kind of hide veg anywhere in spaghetti. You if you if you're not that a fan of picking up a knife and chopping, you can grate as well. If you grate your onions and your carrots, it kind of blends into the meat. So then, unless you've got a really good kid looking at through your spaghetti, they won't be able to notice that there's veg there. Again, like I said last week, check the pan is hot by putting a bit of onion or a bit of veg in until you hear it sizzle, and then you know it's hot enough. You're just going to chop. Whenever you have round veg, you want to make it so you have a flat surface. It's a lot safer for us to chop. So if you've got a round veg, you kind of want to chop it in half, make sure it's got a flat surface down, and then you can chop it in a lot more safely. With carrots, I always chop it really finely, like half it and then half it again. And then when you get closer to the top of the carrot, then I do quarters, just to make sure it's all kind of the same. Consistency. You want all the veg to be kind of the same if you can. The more the veg varies in size, the longer you're going to have to cook it for, but also you'll have some veg that are cooked and some veg that aren't, and that are overcooked. So just going to take your time and work your way through it. All this is going in at the same time, so just chuck it all into a pile. The more veg you can put into your spaghetti bolognese, the better. It's a great way to use up, like I said, cupboard items that would tend to go in the waste. Similarly, if you don't eat meat or you want to reduce it even further, you can add lentils, a mix of lentils and bolognese or mince into it if you want to make the mince go further. Or if you're a vegetarian, you can use corn mince, or you can just use lentils and make it like a lentil dal bolognese. That also works. There's loads of variations you can do, and when you have spaghetti bolognese, there's a lot of variations you can actually do once you have it. You can put it on baked potatoes, you can have it on nachos, you can do spaghetti bolognese, obviously bolognese, lasagna, kind of your world is your oyster. Once you've made your basic bolognese, you can kind of use it to your advantage. So that's still taking a bit of time to heat up. So I've just put the heat up a little bit. Because yeah, it doesn't sound like it's heating up. Whilst your veg is cooking for that kind of 5 to 10 minutes, your carrot, your celery, and your onion, we're going to make the spaghetti. So what I would do is I would boil a kettle, just ready for that. All this can get done within kind of 30 minutes to 45 minutes, spaghetti bolognese. The longer you leave it to, so I'm just going to put that in because I can hear it sizzle. The longer you leave it to stew in that stock and in that meat, the more tender the meat is and the more flavour you put through it. But Alternatively, if you are in a rush and you just want to make it really quickly, it is quite a quick one that you can do as well. So that's that, that used. So after about 10 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to add in some garlic. I have used garlic puree just for the quickness of kind of filming these videos. You can use garlic puree or you can also use just garlic cloves. I always think it's handy to have like chopped garlic in the house, just so it's easy to put into recipes. And actually, if we use garlic, like I've been saying in many other recipes in the past, if you use garlic, it reduces the need for using salt because it's got the flavour in that garlic. So just kind of stir it in, making sure that we're getting the onion nice and soft. So you shouldn't really see the celery. Obviously, the carrots are orange, so you will see it. But once they go kind of soft, then you know it's kind of ready for the next step, which is adding your mince and your garlic. What we're going to do is I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes and I'm going to come back and we'll see where we're at and if we're ready for the next step, which is obviously adding the mince in. Okay, so that's been around about 5 to 6 minutes. It's starting to get brown, which is what we want. Just kind of keeping on stirring it. Try and make sure as much as possible that you're kind of spreading out the veg all around the pan. It allows the heat to get to it a little bit quicker. What we're going to do now is we're going to add in this garlic puree or your chopped garlic. If you are chopping it, just again, as fine as you can. So that's the garlic. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to cook that for another 2 minutes. Get all that veg covered in that garlic. Whilst that was cooking away, I've filled a pot of hot water. I filled a pot with hot water, I should say, and salted the water. You don't need that much salt in your pasta because at the end of the day, the water just kind of goes into the sink anyway. You're going to use only a couple of spoons of that water into your spaghetti. Along with filling a pot with hot water, I've also made 100 mils, 400 mils. So we'll just actually take that and we'll put that water in there. So around 400 mils of water to 1 stock cube. And you're just kind of breaking up the stock cube as much as you can into the jug. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to mix that to make sure that the cube breaks up. Like I said earlier, you can kind of use, if you are vegetarian, you can use a veg stock cube. Or if you want to use red wine stock cubes, you can use that as well. Any stock cubes you really have in the house will work. I think we get too bummed down about getting veg stock cubes, ham stock cubes, chicken stock cubes, beef stock cubes. But really, whatever stock you've got in the house will work for this. Just going to leave that stock there just for a second, just to make sure that you're kind of stirring in that garlic into your veg, because if burnt garlic can give it kind of like a sour taste to your meals, which obviously we don't want. So mix all your veg in. Once that's mixed in, you're going to add in the mince. So mince can be quite expensive. I completely understand. You can use less mince and just add in more veg. Similarly, you don't have to use mince at all. Like I said earlier, you can kind of use lentils or just veg load it instead. What you're doing is you're just breaking up the mince as you put it into the pan. It's 500 grams of mince, that's why I've not put all that mince in. You just want to make sure it's got direct heat to the pan, just when you're mixing all the veg in. What you want to do is you want to brown the mince. Before we add in the next couple of ingredients, which is your tomatoes. Spaghetti Bolognese is obviously a tomato-based recipe. So just kind of stir in the mince until it's all brown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go and get tomato puree. Okay, so the next part of the recipe is you're going to kind of brown the mince. This shouldn't take that long, it should take a couple of minutes max on your brown of the mince. So just kind of keep it stirring it in. It's on a medium to high heat, just stirring it in. Making sure it's not burning the bottom of the pan. What I would do right now is I would just keep that kind of hot water that you've put in that hot in a low heat. You're not going to burn boiled water, so even if you are just boiling it away whilst you're waiting. Once you see most of the meat browned, that's when you know you're kind of close to doing the next step. The next step is adding our tomato puree and our chopped tomatoes into the mince. At this point, if you did have Worcester sauce, you can add it in at this part. A lot of people use Worcester sauce within the mince just to give it a bit more flavour. But obviously with our stock as well, that's going to give it some flavour. So it's completely up to you. So now that I can't see any pink meat, it's all brown. What we're going to do is we're going to add in the tomato puree. With the tomato puree, we're going to add in the tomato puree for 30 seconds before we add in anything else, just to kind of mix it with the meat. We are going to be adding in a tablespoon, so that's about a tablespoon, and just mix that in. Once you've kind of mixed in your tomato puree, it will make it a little bit more watery and a bit more red. Don't worry about that. It's not the meat. You know the meat's cooked, so you're kind of just stirring in now your flavour. So once you've done that 30 seconds of kind of with your meat and your tomato puree, what you're going to do then is you're going to add in your chopped tomatoes and your stock. So what I would do is I would add in the chopped tomatoes first. Then, instead of just adding in the stock straight away, put the stock into the chopped tomato tin. If you've measured right, it should probably be the same as the tin. And then put that in. Now, that might look like an extra step for you, but actually it just makes sure that you get all the chopped tomatoes out the tin. You've got a clean tin now, and also that all the flavour is there. What your goal is now within this meat is to kind of just heat up the liquid further more. but also you kind of want to reduce it down slightly so it's not as watery as what you can see now. It's quite watery. You don't want it to be that. So you kind of a good kind of guide is about 30 minutes at a medium to high heat. That gets it reduced down. If you see it reducing it down too fast and you want to keep it going for a bit longer to to increase the flavour, just put it onto a lower heat and put a lid onto it, just so it doesn't reduce any further. But you're still cooking through that flavour. You want to kind of bring it up to a boil or a simmer before you put any lids on or anything like that. With spaghetti, when you're making your pasta, you only need to make it 10 minutes before you serve. What I would say with pasta is you don't have to get the expensive spaghetti that's in the stores right now. You can get the basic spaghetti, because at the end of the day, pasta is just pasta. What I would say is kind of try and avoid mixing your like fresh and your dried. Just kind of choose a pasta and stick to it. Also, if you don't have spaghetti in the house, you can use peri pasta or tagliatelle, or if you've got noodles in the house, you can use noodles as well. Really, spaghetti kind of goes with anything. Like I say, you don't really need to put it on until 10 minutes before you serve. If you've got any bread in the house that is going stale, you can kind of put garlic or butter and garlic together and make some garlic bread that you can dip into your spaghetti bolognese as well, and make it kind of a meal. If you didn't have bread but you had wraps in the house, you can do like tortilla pizzas, and in the oven you put tortilla, garlic butter, some cheese. Now you've kind of got a garlic bread recipe or garlic bread. You put in the oven for a couple of minutes until it's kind of heated through. Bring it out, and then you've got your kind of garlic bread there. That's also a really good recipe for kids to get involved with because they can make it generally quite easily. So yeah, let's leave this to heat up and bring to a boil, and then after that, we will put a lid on it for a good 20 to 30 minutes. Let it simmer away. See you soon. Okay, so now that that's your kind of spaghetti bolognese kind of mixture coming to a boil and it's kind of simmering away, that's probably only like 15 minutes out of being ready to cook, ready to eat. It still looks a little bit watery, but what you can do is you can kind of just put the temperature up on your hob just so it kind of boils it a little bit faster. Along with this, you're going to put your pasta on right now. So a good, let's just put a good sized portion of pasta on. What you can do is kind of dab it in. What you want to make sure is kind of it's all broke up, the pasta. You don't want it all clumped together because then you just have like one big pasta spaghetti. So you just want to kind of bend it and shape it into the pasta if you want to keep it whole. Similarly though, if you don't mind having shorter pasta bits, you can just snap the pasta up. Whatever it takes to get it under the water. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to cook if it's not under the water. So, yeah, just push it down, push it down. This is quite a messy bit, but once it starts to cook, it becomes a bit more pliable. So just kind of leave it for a good couple of minutes before you kind of mix it up again. With the pasta sauce, you're just kind of like what you'd expect, keeping on stirring that, making sure it's not um, burning the bottom of the pan. With our bolognese, I should say, add some salt and pepper into it, kind of to taste. Too much, and obviously you'll make it really salty. So add sparingly. With the pasta, if you feel like a spoon isn't really splitting it up, you can use a fork and you can just kind of break up the bits of pasta in the pot itself, and it should break it up. And now, because it's all in the water, you should be able to stir it around and mix it all up. Let's put that heat on a little bit more because it should be boiling. It doesn't take long to cook spaghetti. Spaghetti is one of probably the fastest ones to cook. It's not that much. The bigger pastas, if you were replacing this with penny pasta, or like tagliatelle or anything like that, it might just take a little bit longer. When I say a little bit longer, I really only mean like perhaps 2 or 3 minutes. So it's not that bad. So you just want to kind of make sure that's all mixed around and that all the pasta is kind of spaced out. With this one, you can see like in your pan, it's normal in pans that the hottest bit's obviously in the middle of the pan. So when you are stirring it, just make sure you're stirring the meat kind of into the middle, just so it's getting a good distribution of heat across all the bolognese. With this, obviously, just kind of keep it going. You'll see that it'll start to kind of bubble away. That's good. What I would say at this stage is do not get rid of any of the salt water. You might think, oh, there's a lot of water in that, let's get rid of some of it. Don't. Keep it, because you do need it for a little bit later on in your spaghetti, in your bolognese sauce. If your bolognese sauce does at this stage get quite thin and that it is not kind of watery, you can add little bits of water from your salt water of your pasta. So just kind of this recipe isn't, it's, even though it's, we always are saying we're doing one pot recipes this time, this is a two-potter, but actually it's such a quick and easy comforting meal to make. It's probably one of the first recipes that I learned to cook with my mum and dad, but also at school. It is one of the kind of go-to recipes that they do have. So it's always good to get your kids involved in cooking, whether it be chopping up the veg, stirring the pot, making garlic bread on the side. Getting them involved in the cooking really helps them to learn that learn to taste things, new things, but also gets them involved in the kind of process of, if they've made it, they're more than likely going to eat it. So it's really important to kind of learn or make or allow your kids to learn at an early age of how to cook a meal. I would never, obviously, we would say never to have them unsupervised when they're cooking. Obviously, you've got to be in the room, or an adult has to be in the room, whilst they're around knives and around other sharp objects and hot objects. But it's a really handy and a really good life skill to have for later on in life. So allowing your kids, I know it might feel dangerous, or it might feel that you're kind of putting them in harm, but actually having them in the kitchen with you is only a good thing. It can only make them a stronger cook and kind of build on your relationship as as a parent to your child. At the trust, we always say that it's not about kind of what you give them, it's about the process and making the food, but also them sitting down and having it together without any devices around, without any kind of watch or without any arguments, just having a nice old chat about what you've done today at school or what you've done today at work, and family time. It's so much better when you do that without any devices and sit down meals, not around a TV, round a table. At school, they obviously learn about cooking and about kind of the different parts that make up a meal, which is like the Eat Well guide. Um, I know in Preston Tower, we go through that with the penny pit because we do school cooking and we do cooking classes within the school. Um, and if you come to our cooking groups, our community cooking or our family cooking, that also allows you the opportunity to kind of go through the Eat Well guides with one of our nutritionists. Um, our next bunch of cooking groups are actually taking place right now. So if you do want to get involved, contact us and we can put you in touch with our community nutritionists to arrange a time where you can come and do some community cooking, and allowed to speak to our team about fast eating, weaning, or any other kind of problems or questions you have for our team. It's always good to hear from everyone about kind of how it's helping you, and how we can help you. So, on that note, we obviously have our pantry as well, open 11 till 1 on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. This is where obviously these recipes bags are on a Tuesday, but also you can access fresh fruit and veg that's in our pantries, along with some tins, some essential items. You'll be greeted by our team, who can also do like food bank referrals and other things for those that are struggling most. But like I say, it's kind of that whole, we're here to support you. So if there's any questions at all, feel free to contact us and we will get back to you with either an answer to your question or a person that you can kind of reach out to get an answer. So right now, our pasta is nearly cooked. You can kind of tell that the pasta is nearly cooked by either trying a bit. So you can try a bit of pasta. If you don't want to try the pasta because you think it's going to be too hot, or if it's you've around kids, you can just put it onto the table, and if it cuts through, then you know it's kind of ready to eat. That one did cut through, so actually that is done. At this point is when you would start getting rid of some of the water. If the meat wasn't ready, but your pasta is. In the recipe, we say kind of put a couple of salt, water, or pasta into the soup, into the bolognese, sorry. That just allows us to kind of flavour the spaghetti bolognese, add a little bit of water into it as well. And allows it all to kind of bind together because there is a little bit of starch in the pasta as well. So, with that is our kind of bolognese nearly cooked. What I would do with this is I would get a colander and drain the water. Look back on your recipe, it does say kind of drain it once you've cooked it to the tender. So I'm going to drain this and then we'll be back with the final product. Yeah, I'm going to have a bit of this just because A, if not A, I'll do. Okay, so what you done is you got your pasta, and then what you do is just mix in all the bolognese, and then you can serve it. What I would do is I would probably serve it when it's a little bit um, more meaty rather than sauce, but that's still a good consistency. I'm going to leave that to boil away. Put a lid on it, and let's try a bit of this. If you have kids, what I would do is I would kind of mix it in so it's not so the kids can't really see a load of the stuff that's in it. And then just be careful because obviously it's hot, but that's really good. That is spaghetti bolognese done in less than an hour. Come back next week to enjoy another recipe. Remembering it's live cooking, real community, and yeah, see you next week.